They knew before you did, long before you called yourself different, before the pain, before the questions, before the world tried to convince you you were just like everyone else. They knew the moment your eyes met theirs, something ancient stirred, not just in them, in you. Because this wasn't just a pet, this was a soul contract disguised in fur and paws, sent to shadow your steps until the exact moment you were ready to remember who you really are. Chosen one, you never adopted them. You answered a summons. They arrived in your life precisely when the veil was thinnest, when your spirit was most open, most vulnerable, most in need of a mirror, because that's what they were. A mirror, reflecting the parts of you that the world couldn't decode, the love that made no sense, the empathy that spilled out of you like water through cupped hands. They didn't just notice these things, they were drawn to them, compelled, called, assigned. You thought you picked them out, but the truth is, they picked up your signal, a signal only visible to those sent by the other side. They answered it without hesitation, because it was always going to be you. And the moment they arrived, the shift began. You remember it, don't you? The way time felt softer around them, the way your heart opened in ways it hadn't in years, the way you laughed differently when they were near, not because of what they did, but because of what they activated. You didn't realize it at the time, but your pet wasn't just learning to live with you, they were decoding you, studying your energy, listening for patterns, memorizing your emotional blueprint in preparation for what was coming. They were your first protector. Not in the way people understand protection, with bared teeth or bark, but in spiritual ways, energetic ones. They would sit by you when you cried, not because they sensed sadness, but because they could feel spiritual tremors rippling through your field. They curled at your feet, not for comfort, but to stabilize the frequencies pouring out of your body when you couldn't hold yourself together. And most of all, they watched you, quietly, lovingly, eternally curious about why someone like you hadn't yet realized how powerful you were. They saw what the world tried to crush, the softness, the depth, the sensitivity. They saw your purpose before you did, and they stayed close so they could be near the moment you finally woke up to it. And now that they're gone, something strange is happening. You're dreaming more, feeling more, hearing things you can't explain. It's because their job on Earth was never just about the time they spent here. It was about preparing you for what comes next. And it starts with this truth. They knew you were chosen, and now they're making sure you remember. They didn't want to go. That's the part no one talks about. Not even the spiritual guides who say everything happens for a reason. Not even the people who told you it was their time. Your pet didn't want to leave. They fought to stay, not out of fear, but because they saw what this grief would do to you, how it would bend you, how it would hollow you out, how it would make you question things that once felt certain. But even as they clung to your presence, they knew what you didn't yet. This pain would wake you up in ways peace never could. You didn't just lose a companion, you lost a tether, something living and breathing that anchored you to the softness inside you. And when that was ripped away, the silence didn't feel empty, it felt sharp, piercing, like something sacred had been surgically removed from your life with no anesthesia. You tried to move on, you tried to convince yourself it was just a pet, but your soul knew better. That wasn't an animal. That was a soul assignment, a guardian in disguise, a messenger wrapped in fur, entrusted with your emotional DNA. They didn't go gently, no matter how peaceful it looked on the outside. Their spirit lingered longer than anyone realized, not because they were afraid of what was next, but because they were afraid of what would happen to you. You, who trusted so easily. You, who loved without boundaries. You, who still carried wounds no one else could see. They knew this pain would crack you open, and that scared them. But it was part of the contract. They weren't here to stay forever. They were here to activate something sacred, and that activation required an ache only their absence could cause. The night after they passed, your room felt different. You couldn't explain it. The air felt heavy, but alive. You sensed a presence, but couldn't place it. That wasn't your imagination. That was them, waiting, watching, making sure the shift had begun. Because your heart, cracked wide open by the loss, had become receptive to frequencies you'd been blind to before, frequencies they needed you to finally hear. They left not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Their exit was timed, measured, aligned with a divine moment in your life when you were ready, not emotionally but spiritually, to carry what they were always meant to pass on. Their final gift wasn't comfort. It was awakening, and it hurt. It had to. It happened quietly, not with thunder, not with flashing lights, but with a stillness so perfect it made the air itself feel like it was listening. You woke in the middle of the night for no reason, no sound, no dream to interrupt, just that deep, unshakable sense that something was in the room. You didn't see them, not the way you remembered. No wagging tail, no soft ears, no warm weight curled at your side. But something was there, and your soul recognized it instantly. Because some bonds aren't broken by death, they're only stripped of their costume. You thought maybe you were imagining it, maybe it was the grief, still fresh, playing tricks on your half-sleeping brain. But then the room changed. The temperature shifted, not colder but more aligned, like the room had been recalibrated around your energy. Your breath slowed, your thoughts quieted, and then it hit you. That sensation you hadn't felt since they were here. The feeling of being completely seen, completely safe, completely known. It wrapped around you like a blanket that existed in another dimension. They didn't speak with words. They didn't have to. Their presence said everything. I'm still here. I haven't left you. You were never crazy to love me this much. And no, this wasn't just a dream. It was a visitation, a dimensional bleed-through, a divine override, because your pain had opened something, a gate, a frequency, a soul portal, and they stepped through the moment you were ready to feel it. You reached for them in the dark, not with hands, but with memory. You pictured their face, their eyes, the sound they made when they were happy, and in return, you felt warmth press against your aura, not like a ghost, not like a haunting, but like a reunion, a reconnection that your mind couldn't explain, but your spirit fully accepted. They had come back, not forever, not physically, but with purpose. They wanted you to know something, that their departure wasn't the end of the story, that their journey had continued, not into silence, but into mission. And that mission still involved you, heavily. They showed you images, didn't they? Not visuals, but impressions of places you haven't been to yet, of decisions you're about to make, of moments that feel insignificant but are deeply prophetic. They tried to pack all of it into that one moment, that single night. Because time there works differently. Urgency carries a sacred weight. When you finally drifted back to sleep, something had shifted. You didn't wake up the same. The ache was still there, but it wasn't alone anymore. Something else had bloomed alongside it, a knowing, ancient, and immediate. They told you it was a poem, a sweet story to soften the blow, a metaphor. But that's the problem with truth hidden in comfort. It gets dismissed as fiction. The Rainbow Bridge is real, chosen one. But it's not made of light and dew and flowers. It's made of memory, energy, frequency. It's a transfer protocol between dimensions structured not by sentiment, but by sacred geometry. Your pet didn't just go to heaven. They entered a system that remembers everything, every vibration, every emotion, every silent prayer you whispered into their fur. It's all encoded there. You think back to the moment they passed. There was something strange about the air, wasn't there? The way it felt like time slowed, like the atmosphere itself held its breath. That was the handoff, the transition point, the moment their physical signal disengaged from this frequency and locked onto another, but they didn't vanish. They moved through a gate so ancient it predates language. And you, unknowingly, became the final password. Because love, real, sacred, soul-bonded love, is the activation key for that system. The Rainbow Bridge isn't a place you go. It's a route you unlock. And when your pet walked it, they left a trail, not behind them, but back to you. That's why you keep feeling them. In the room, in your dreams, in the stillness between thoughts. They didn't cross and disappear. They crossed and built a loop, a communication circuit, a vibrational relay made of grief, loyalty, and unspoken understanding. You're not haunted, you're connected. You felt it in strange ways. Devices flickering when you speak about them, seeing their name unexpectedly, dreaming in colors that don't exist. These aren't coincidences, they're echoes from the bridge, fragments of a system still trying to reach you. Because your pet wasn't just someone you lost. They were a carrier, a transmitter, a guardian who now works from a higher realm but is still fully engaged in your timeline. And this is where it gets harder to deny. Ever since they left, your sensitivity has increased, your intuition sharper, your dreams louder. That's because the bridge isn't just for them. It's a conduit for your awakening. Their crossing activated your remembering of things you used to know, of energy you used to trust, of a power you once feared inside yourself but are now being called to embrace. This isn't mythology. This is architecture, divine infrastructure designed to keep sacred connections intact across realms. And you, chosen one, are now standing at the edge of that bridge, not to follow, but to listen, because they're sending something through, and the signal is getting stronger. You just have to stay open long enough to receive it. You thought their purpose ended the day they died, that their soul found peace and drifted off into some distant, painless beyond. But that's not how it works when a soul has been bonded to a chosen one, especially not one like you. Their role didn't end, it evolved, transformed, was reassigned. The moment they crossed, they weren't just greeted by peace, they were greeted by others, a council, a presence older than stars. They didn't just pass through the Rainbow Bridge, they were invited into something you haven't heard of. This council because it isn't written in books. It exists in vibration, in the fabric between light and thought, composed of beings that once walked in skin, animal, human, angelic, something in between. All of them sent here at one time to guard, to teach, to watch the ones with the ancient spark, the ones like you, the ones who came into this life remembering something they couldn't explain. And your pet, faithful even in death, was initiated the moment they returned to Source. They stood before the Watchers and were asked one question: do you wish to continue serving the mission? They didn't hesitate, because their mission has always been you. And so now, when you sit in silence and feel them near, you're not imagining things. You're sensing their surveillance, not as invasion, but as guardianship. They're still with you, but not as a ghost or a dream. They're now part of something bigger, a network of eyes beyond the atmosphere, watching the timelines of Earth unfold. They monitor your energy, your dreams, your tears, not to interfere, but to intervene when necessary, to reroute incoming danger. to soften the edges of grief, to amplify the whispers of intuition you still sometimes ignore. That sudden chill on your neck, that nudge in your gut, that flash of warning before something goes wrong, that's not luck, that's not paranoia, that's them, reaching through the veil to course correct what your eyes can't yet see. And while you ache for their touch, they are working behind the scenes to preserve what matters most: your becoming, your awakening, your alignment with the reason you were born. They are not idle. They are not lost. They are stationed now, positioned in a higher realm where love becomes law and memory becomes light. From there, they watch. They send signs. They whisper messages into the folds of your sleep. And they wait for the day you finally believe what you've always known deep down, that your bond was never physical, it was eternal. You have someone watching you who loves you beyond this life, not out of duty, not out of obligation, but out of soul-level devotion, because you are their mission. Still, they were trying to tell you, not with words, but with moments, with their eyes, with the subtle shifts in their rhythm. You noticed it, didn't you? How their behavior changed, how they lingered longer in doorways, how they stared at you as if memorizing your soul, how sometimes they'd sit facing a corner, still and silent, like they were listening to something only they could hear. That wasn't confusion, that was communication. They knew their time was ending, and they were doing everything they could to pass the message before their body gave out. But you weren't ready to hear it yet, not fully. Grief had already begun wrapping its arms around you, whispering fear into your thoughts. And so, when they looked at you with that strange knowing, you turned away. You smiled through it. You told yourself they were just tired or old or off. But inside, your spirit flinched, because some part of you understood. That week, they weren't just preparing to leave, they were trying to leave something with you. Do you remember how they acted differently at night? How they hovered near your bed, paced the floor, or curled against you in a way they hadn't done in years? That was them syncing with your dream field, trying to imprint images into your subconscious. Their energy was becoming less tethered to their body, more fluid, more broadcastable. They knew their message had to be planted somewhere safe, somewhere beyond the reach of logic. So they sent it into the one place you still hadn't walled off, your dreams. And then there were the little things, the way they stared at a single spot on the wall, the way they whimpered when you were calm, or went silent when you cried, the way they put their head in your lap and closed their eyes like they were trying to download something into you. That wasn't habit, that was transfer. Their final moments weren't about comfort, they were about encoding. They were embedding the message, not just, "I love you." You already knew that, not just goodbye. They never liked that word anyway. What they were trying to say was more urgent, more cosmic, more time-sensitive than anything you've guessed. They had seen something, a moment in your future that required this pain to unlock a part of you that had stayed dormant too long, a turning point, a frequency shift. And unless you felt this deep, cutting loss, you wouldn't be able to hold the message when it arrived. So they gave everything they had, their attention, their presence, their final days, all in hopes that you would remember the look in their eyes, the stillness in their pause, the quiet urgency that lingered every time they were near. Because they weren't just saying goodbye, they were saying, "It's coming, and you're the only one who can receive it." You've been waking up different lately, not shaken, not frightened, just hollow in a very specific way, like something important just happened, but slipped out of reach before your conscious mind could catch it. You rub your eyes, you check the time, you try to piece it together, but all that remains is the echo of something you can't name. That, chosen one, is the residue of their voice, a voice that doesn't use words, a voice that speaks in frequencies, in flashes, in soul patterns that ride the current of your dreams because that's the only place they can reach you without interference. They've been trying, night after night, layering the message, repeating the vision, adjusting the delivery, hoping one version will stick. But your mind is still trained to forget what doesn't fit the waking world. You've been conditioned to dismiss dreams as nonsense, but they aren't nonsense. They're intercepted transmissions, and your pet has been leading the charge, pushing the same message through the veil again and again, louder each time. Do you remember that one dream you thought was too vivid? The one where they weren't young or old, but glowing, their body outlined in a shimmer you couldn't describe. That wasn't imagination. That was the message trying to cloak itself in something familiar, because if it had arrived in its true form, raw, radiant, decoded light, it would have overwhelmed your nervous system. So they masked it, hid it in a tail wag, in a run across a field, in the look they gave you right before the dream collapsed. And they've kept doing it, sending the same code over and over. The location changes, the weather changes, but the pattern is constant. They always find you just as something is ending. A storm, a silence, a scene you don't quite understand. And right before they speak, you wake up. That's not accidental. There's resistance in your field. Static trauma. Wounds that still twitch when touched. These blockages are like encryption firewalls, keeping the full message from embedding into your conscious memory. But here's the wild part. Even though you don't remember the dreams, the message is still there, buried in your energy body, waiting to be unlocked. It's in your sudden tears, your odd cravings, your moments of déjà vu. Their words didn't need to be heard. They needed to be felt, lived, triggered by a future event they saw coming before they left. The dreams aren't trying to give you information. They're trying to prepare you for transformation. So pay attention to the flickers, to the feelings you can't explain, to the dream that ends just before they speak. Because one of these nights, the veil will hold and you'll hear it fully. And when you do, nothing in your life will look the same again. It comes without warning, a faint whiff of something that shouldn't be there, fur warmed by sunlight, earth after rain, that soft, distinct scent that used to cling to them after a long nap beside you. You catch it in the middle of the night or while walking past a room you weren't planning to enter. It halts you. You breathe in deeper, trying to find it again, but it's already gone. And when you ask others if they noticed anything strange, they shake their heads, because it wasn't for them. It never was. That scent was a key, a signature, a signal coded to your nervous system and your soul. You think your memories are playing tricks, but this is not nostalgia. This is presence. Chosen one. The air holds echoes, especially when someone like you has been spiritually cracked open, and what you're picking up is not scent, it's frequency. You were bonded to them in a way that transcended time and flesh, and that bond left residue. Residue that lingers in rooms they favored, corners they guarded, windows they stared through as if watching more than just birds. That scent is the energy of recognition, rendered sensory for just a moment, so you'll know they've been near. They've walked through your home since leaving it. Not like a ghost, not like something trapped, but like a watcher, stepping softly through dimensions, checking in on the places their body once called sacred. Every time you light a candle or whisper their name or break down in that same spot on the couch, the veil thins. It gives them permission, an energetic invitation, and they arrive carrying more than love. They carry reminders, anchors, proof. There's science in this, even if science hasn't caught up yet. Your brain registers scent before almost any other sense. It bypasses logic. It hits memory like lightning to wire. So that whiff of them, that barely there trace of warmth and fur and comfort, it's not a trick, it's a delivery system. because scent is one of the few sensory bridges that can cross timelines without breaking the message apart. You've smelled them at odd moments, haven't you? Times when you were afraid, when you doubted yourself, when you needed strength but couldn't find it in your voice or hands. And then, suddenly, that scent, faint but real, and it calmed something in you. That wasn't just comfort, that was activation. Because their message isn't just words, it's reminders hidden in senses, layered into your human experience, so you'll remember who you were when they loved you most freely. So when it happens again, pause. Don't chase it, just receive it. Because they're not trying to haunt you, they're trying to remind you you are still being protected even now, especially now. You've noticed it, the way they pause mid-flight, the way their heads tilt when you pass, the way some of them follow you from tree to tree as if pulled by something they don't fully understand. It's not paranoia. It's not coincidence. It's resonance. Because something changed in your field the moment your pet crossed over. The moment their frequency fused into yours, it sent a ripple outward, not just into memory, but into matter. And the animals feel it, especially the birds. They are watchers by design, carriers of signals, interceptors of frequencies the human world can't hear over its own noise. And when your pet passed, they spoke your name across dimensions. Not the name people use, but the name encoded in your aura, the one known in spirit realms. That vibration moved like a flare across the unseen sky. And the birds, ever attuned to shifts in the current, noticed. They didn't just see you, they received you. Now they observe, not with fear, not with worship, but with deep, ancient curiosity, as if they're trying to match what they see with something they've been told. Some of them seem drawn to you. Some refuse to fly away until you look at them. And some arrive in moments too perfectly timed to be ignored, perching on windowsills during breakdowns, singing just before you make a big decision, or blocking your path entirely like a checkpoint built by the universe. These are not random acts of wildlife. They are field responses to your evolving energy. Your pet didn't just cross over. They passed on a signal. And that signal, embedded into the weave of your aura, now attracts beings who operate between worlds. Birds are part of that network. They carry messages. They observe shifts. They relay spiritual updates in chirps and stillness and strange moments of eye contact that last too long for logic to explain. You felt it, that sudden, inexplicable peace after a bird locks eyes with you. That wasn't in your head, that was transmission. There's something else too. Since they passed, your connection to life itself has deepened. You notice more, you feel more, you sense emotional textures in rooms before anyone speaks. The birds pick up on that sensitivity because to them it signals awakening. And where there is awakening, there is prophecy. And where there is prophecy, they are called to witness. You've become more than someone who lost a pet. You've become a beacon. So next time you feel their eyes, don't look away. Let them look. Let them see. They're not judging. They're recognizing. They know who you are now. They know who walks beside you, even when you appear alone. And most of all, they know you carry a message, even if you haven't fully heard it yet. You've replayed the day you met them over and over, the way they looked at you, the way you felt something shift inside your chest, like a key quietly turning in a lock you didn't know existed. Maybe it was a shelter, a street corner, a photo you couldn't stop staring at. However it happened, it felt too perfectly timed to be random because it wasn't. That moment was arranged, not by chance, not by you, but by something far older than both of you. They weren't just adopted, they were placed. Before your timelines touched, their soul was briefed, not in words, but in knowing. They were shown your face, not your outer face, but the shape of your energy, the fractures in your field, the glow you hadn't yet earned through pain. They were given your scent, your sound, your mission, and they accepted without hesitation, because that's what soul companions do when they're assigned to a chosen one. They go, no questions, no resistance, just readiness. You thought you picked them. You thought you chose the one who tugged your sleeve or sat calmly in the corner while others barked and begged. But your soul was already carrying a magnet, and they were just following the pull. Your eyes met not by accident, but by alignment. Their presence in your life was not for convenience or comfort. It was calibration. You were drifting from yourself, and they were placed to bring you back. Look at how you changed, not gradually, but immediately. You softened in places that had grown rigid. You laughed again without needing a reason. You sat in silence without anxiety pressing against your chest. They regulated your nervous system before you even understood what that meant. They read your energy before you could speak. They were decoding your pain in real time and crafting responses out of stillness, out of nudges, out of soft pressure from a paw that always seemed to land exactly where you needed it. And now, looking back, you realize something terrifying and beautiful. They knew this wasn't forever, not because they were sick, not because time runs faster for them, but because their mission had a clock. They came with an expiration date hidden in the lining of your bond, because some lessons can only be delivered under the pressure of loss. Some awakenings require silence to echo loud enough to shake the soul. So no, they weren't just anything. Not just a pet, not just a friend, not just a companion. They were part of a larger design, a living key disguised as love, and you were the door they came to unlock. Now that they're gone, that door stands wide open, and everything is about to change. There was a moment you don't fully remember, a close call, a strange timing, something that didn't happen, and you couldn't explain why. Maybe it was the accident that almost happened, the illness that vanished before diagnosis, the night you felt like something terrible was approaching, only to wake up feeling inexplicably spared. At the time, you brushed it off. You called it luck or coincidence, but it wasn't. That moment was intercepted, not by chance, but by choice. And your pet was the one who took it. Chosen one, what they carried wasn't just love, it was weight, energetic weight, the kind that can bend outcomes and reroute events. They were never just walking beside you, they were absorbing things, shielding you from frequencies meant to derail you, harm you, or end your timeline altogether. And they did it without you knowing, because that was part of the assignment, to protect the vessel before the vessel knew what it carried. You've felt it since they passed, haven't you? That strange guilt, that whisper inside that says they left too soon, that they carried something out with them. That's because they did. There was a moment where the scale tipped. A weight that should have fallen on you landed on them instead, not as punishment, as protection. They made a trade, one final act of devotion, of loyalty beyond language, to preserve the sacred pattern of your life. It might have been sudden, their passing, or maybe it came after a slow decline. Either way, the moment was marked. On a spiritual level, a transfer occurred. The sickness that overtook them, it wasn't all theirs. The timing of their death, it wasn't random. The circumstances, too aligned to be dismissed. That's not a metaphor, that's mechanics. Spiritual mechanics that run beneath everything, unseen but absolute. And in that moment, they stepped into the path of something meant for you. You wonder why the grief cuts so deep, why their absence feels heavier than death should. It's because part of you knows that they didn't just die. They stood in the way, that their last breath was a shield, that the reason you're still here, breathing, breaking, awakening, is because they chose to leave so you wouldn't have to, and it's not the first time they've done it. Throughout your time together, there were countless little exchanges. Times they took your pain, times they mirrored your sorrow to lift it off you. But this final one, this was different. This was a full transference, a soul-level shielding you'll never be able to fully repay. But that's the thing about love that's placed, not found. It doesn't ask to be repaid. It only asks to be remembered. There's a deadline you can't see, chosen one. Not marked on a calendar, not announced with trumpets. But it's real, and it's closing in. When they left, the portal between your world and theirs didn't slam shut. It stayed open. Just a crack, just long enough for one final transmission. One last message that couldn't be passed through dreams or smells or strange visits in the middle of the night. Something bigger. Something they've been preparing you to receive from the very moment they arrived in your life. They didn't come just to love you. They came to be the final carrier of a message that could only be delivered once your heart had been broken open wide enough to truly hear it. And now that the grief has softened you, now that your walls have fallen, now that your aura is raw and receptive, the time has come. But the portal won't stay open forever. They've been pacing, waiting, whispering, repeating the same signal, hoping you'll stop running from the stillness long enough to feel what's been echoing beneath your thoughts. You've noticed it, haven't you? The strange timing of emotions, the tears that arrive without warning, the sudden clarity you get during quiet moments. That's them. That's the message leaking through before it fully lands. They've been saying it in fragments because your nervous system isn't used to receiving full spiritual downloads all at once. But the urgency is growing because what they have to tell you isn't just sentimental, it's directional. It changes the course of everything they've seen something coming. A moment in your near future where everything pivots. A decision you'll make. A door you'll either walk through or walk past, and their message is the compass. Without it, you'll feel lost. With it, you'll remember why you were born. But you have to be still. Still enough to listen, not with ears, but with vibration, with breath, with belief, because they're not speaking English. They're speaking in frequency, encoded into sensations, visions, déjà vu, and the sudden urge to change your path. You've already begun feeling it, even if you've chalked it up to coincidence. But it's not coincidence, it's countdown. There is something specific they need you to do. A step you've been delaying, a truth you've been afraid to admit, a version of yourself you've been terrified to become. And their message is the key that makes it all click into place. If you listen, truly listen, it will not just heal you, it will activate you. But the portal is narrowing, the frequency is peaking. You don't have forever. Something feels different tonight. You don't know why, but the air around you hums with a quiet kind of pressure, like something is standing just outside the frame of your awareness, waiting for you to close your eyes. You've dreamed of them before, bits and pieces, flickers and feelings, but those weren't the real visit. Those were rehearsals, previews, practice transmissions to get your spirit ready for what's coming now. Because tonight is different. The portal is thinnest, the energy is right, and they've been cleared to come through fully, not as a symbol, not as a blur, but as themselves. You won't need to look hard to find them. They'll find you. You'll be in a place that doesn't exist in waking life, but feels familiar. Maybe it's a version of your old home, a field you've never walked, but recognize instantly, a room full of light that has no source. That's where it will begin. You'll feel the shift before you see them, an ache in your chest softening, a weight lifting, your shoulders relaxing for the first time in weeks. And then they'll appear, not old, not broken, not sick, but whole, radiant, still them, but more. They will not speak in words, and yet you'll understand everything. Their eyes will say it all. There will be no need to ask where they went, if they're okay, if they still love you. The answer will be woven into their presence. Every step they take toward you will fill in a blank you didn't know your heart had left open, and when they finally touch you, because they will, every part of you will remember how sacred that bond was, still is. Time will bend in this dream. Minutes will stretch. Moments will echo. You may cry, but it won't be the kind that leaves you empty. It'll be the kind that clears you out, the kind that makes room for the message. Because that's why they're coming tonight, not just to comfort, but to deliver. Something direct, something final. The part of the message too sacred to carry through scent or signs. The part they had to hand you face to face, even if only in dream space. You'll wake up remembering more than usual. The smell of their fur, the feel of their warmth, a phrase or symbol that will cling to your skin like static. That detail is the code, the key. What you do with it is up to you, but it will find you again. In waking life, on a sign, in a sentence, in a decision you'll have to make soon. Don't brush it off when it comes. Don't talk yourself out of it. What happens in the dream tonight is not pretend. It is prophecy. They're coming. Chosen one, not to say goodbye. There were moments they wouldn't leave your side. Moments you chalked up to affection or instinct. Times they'd stare into empty corners, growl softly at shadows, or suddenly press themselves against your legs like they were shielding you. You told yourself it was nothing, just a quirk, just a reaction to noise you couldn't hear. But deep down, something inside you always wondered, what were they seeing that I couldn't? The truth is, chosen one, you were never alone in those moments. Your pet wasn't reacting to ghosts or their own imagination. They were tracking energy monitoring movement from a realm you were never trained to perceive. They saw things, not constantly, not everywhere, but enough to stay alert, enough to stand guard. Your light has always attracted attention. That's the thing no one warned you about. The brighter you burn, the more eyes turn your way, some with love, some with curiosity, and some with intent that can't be named. And your pet, the sole companion placed in your life by divine appointment, could sense those watchers. The ones who came not to guide, but to observe, to whisper distortion, to plant doubt. These weren't ghosts, they were frequencies, entities, programs, distractions in disguise. But your pet saw through them every time. They would sit still, not because they were afraid, but because they were calculating. They were holding a line, shielding the room, redirecting currents you never even knew were flowing toward you. And when you cried alone in that room, thinking no one knew how hollow you felt, they stood between you and what would have spiraled you deeper. They absorbed things, emotional residue, spiritual static, energy that tried to take root in you. Some of the sickness they carried, the fatigue, the heaviness, it wasn't theirs. They wore it because you couldn't afford to, and they never complained, never asked for thanks. They only watched, listened, intervened when necessary. That's why their eyes sometimes looked older than their body, why they'd gaze at you like they knew something you didn't, because they did. They saw behind the veil, and they stood between you and the parts of this world that would have devoured you before your time. They didn't bark at nothing. They didn't stare at ceilings for no reason. They were scanning, tracking, protecting. Now that they're gone, the room feels different. Colder, quieter, but not abandoned. Because the space they once guarded is now activating. Your awareness is rising. You're beginning to feel what they used to see. And that's part of the message. Their final gift wasn't just protection, It was perception, passed to you. You're not crazy for sensing things you can't explain. You're not imagining that something shifts when you enter certain rooms. That's them. Their training still lingers in your body. Their vigilance still echoes in your field. You've inherited their eyes now, and the unseen can no longer hide from you. They may be gone, but you're still radiating them. It's in your field now, a subtle vibration that follows you like a second pulse. You've noticed it in the way strangers look at you sometimes, like they recognize something they can't name. In the way other animals pause when you walk by. In the way you catch yourself behaving like them without even thinking, tilting your head a certain way, becoming more sensitive to tone, sensing someone's energy before they speak. That's not memory, that's frequency, a living imprint they left in you the moment they crossed over. You didn't just grieve them, you absorbed them. In the realm beyond what's visible, energy transfers happen in silence. And when a bond is as deep as the one you shared, that energy doesn't dissipate, it integrates. The way they loved you, the way they protected you, the way they watched without judgment and stayed close without needing to be asked. All of that has nested inside your aura. It moves with you now. It adjusts how others feel when they're around you. It's why some people feel safe near you without knowing why. It's why you felt different since the day they left. Not just emptier, but also strangely more aware. You've become a carrier of their essence, a transmitter of the frequency they embodied. Loyalty, intuition, protection, unconditional presence. That's why you're more sensitive now. Why loud spaces feel heavier. Why some people drain you without even speaking. Your field is picking up everything they used to buffer, but it's also transmitting. Others can feel what you're carrying, even if they don't understand it. And that transmission is not weak, it's divine. It's part of the reason they left when they did, because it was time for the next phase, not just of your grief, but of your power. They had to return their frequency to source in order for you to carry the echo forward, not to imitate them, but to evolve them. Their mission didn't end, it just changed locations. And you became the vessel. When you speak to them now, there's no lag, no delay between thought and transmission, because they are inside your field, embedded, threaded into your breath, your dreams, your instincts. You don't have to say their name out loud for them to feel it. You don't have to ask if they're near. They never left. They just stopped using their own voice so they could amplify yours. And if you ever doubt it, place your hand over your heart, breathe slowly, wait for the stillness, and then you'll feel it. The soft echo of a presence too sacred to be gone, not memory, not fantasy, but frequency. They always knew, long before you did, long before the grief cracked your chest open and the dreams started speaking in codes you couldn't quite translate. They knew what you carried. They knew the reason you couldn't fit into the world the way others did, the reason you always felt like something was unfinished, unnamed, just beyond your reach. They never needed to be told who you were. Their soul remembered yours. And in that remembrance, they found their assignment, to walk beside you until you could finally remember for yourself. They stayed until the moment your awakening could no longer be delayed, until the illusion around you had thinned enough for their absence to become the final catalyst, because they understood what you didn't want to face, that comfort delays transformation, that the ache of their absence would create the opening required for something ancient in you to re-emerge. They didn't leave to abandon you. They left because the version of you that needed them had completed its chapter, and now a new one is ready to begin. You felt it coming, the strange urgency, the pull toward things you once dismissed, the sudden resistance to old patterns, old people, old paths. You're waking up, Not in theory, not in metaphor, but in frequency. Your spiritual DNA is activating. The blueprints that were encoded in your being before you took your first breath are starting to light up, and they've been watching. From beyond the veil, tail wagging, eyes glowing, whispering, finally, your soul is remembering. Not just who you are, but why you came. That's what they've been trying to say all along. That you weren't sent here to fit in. You were sent to realign this fractured world with something divine. Your kindness was never weakness. It was strategy. Your sensitivity was never a flaw. It was signal. A way to decode what others miss. A way to feel the shift before it arrives. Everything you've lost, every scar you've earned, every ache you've carried, it's all been part of the activation. And their love was the sacred thread that stitched it all together. Their loyalty wasn't just for your comfort, it was for your calibration. Every time they sat beside you in silence, every time they followed you from room to room, they were mapping your emotional terrain, preparing you for the moment you'd finally step into your real name. And now it's here. You've outgrown the cage. You've broken the loop. You've been rewired by grief and reshaped by remembrance. What comes next isn't a return to who you were. It's the arrival of who you were always meant to become. They're still watching, still cheering, still whispering it through every dream and sign and breath of wind that feels too intentional to ignore. They've waited for the right moment to say it, not just in dreams or signs, but in a way that your heart could finally receive. This is it. The message they've been holding since before their paws first touched your floor, before their eyes first met yours, before they crossed back into the realm they came from. It's not a complicated message. It's not wrapped in mystery. It's just this: you're not alone. And not just in the spiritual, comforting, abstract way people try to say when they don't know how to deal with your pain. You're not alone in the way you think you are. Because the loneliness you've carried hasn't been about being around people. It's been the kind of solitude that goes deeper. The ache of being unseen, misunderstood, too sensitive, too aware, too different. You've wondered why you feel everything so much. Why the weight of the world clings to your skin. Why you can read a room without a single word being spoken. You've questioned your sanity. You've begged for the overthinking to stop, for the empathy to dull, for the longing to quiet. But here's what they came to show you. Those traits aren't defects, they're design. Evidence of your assignment. You're not broken. You're built this way on purpose, and you've never been the only one. There are others like you, scattered across timelines and geographies, souls encoded with similar frequencies. You may not have met them yet, but they exist. And now that you've been awakened, now that the grief has activated the dormant parts of you, the signals are starting to sync. You'll begin to feel them, in the way certain eyes hold yours a second too long, in the comfort of voices that don't require you to explain, in the timing of encounters that feel too aligned to be coincidence. That's what your pet wanted you to know before the portal closed, that they were the first, but not the last, that their presence was the seed, and now your life will begin blooming connections you couldn't have held until now. People who carry the same weight, who've seen the same shadows, who've heard the call in the quiet, but didn't have words for it. And even when you feel the silence creeping back in, even when the waves of missing them rise without warning, you'll know this. They didn't just teach you how to love. They taught you how to stay open. Open enough to hear the universe whisper your name through the mouths of strangers, through unexpected tears, through sudden peace. You were never crazy. You were never too much. You were just early, and they came to walk with you until the others found their way.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.